They are dramatic, they are emotional, and they are career-defining. Or are they? Music competitions promise success and recognition, but do they actually deliver? And more importantly, should music be judged at all? Today, we're diving into a world that shaped me as a young musician, that inspired me, but also made me deeply uncomfortable. The world of music competitions. Alright, before we dive into it, here comes a little concert announcement for my concert in Milano on the 19th of July. I'm going to play all Chopin ballades and some Beethoven and Debussy. The ticket sale just started. You can grab your tickets now through the link in the description box, and I'm happy to see you in the concert and also at the meet and greet after the concert. Alright, let's take a step back. Where do music competitions actually come from? Believe it or not, between 1912 to 1948, the Olympic Games actually also included art competitions. And yes, that also included music. Medals were awarded in categories like composition, literature, painting, and sculpture. The idea was to not just celebrate the athletic, but also the artistic excellence of humanity. While that sounds pretty wild today, it reflects a broader cultural movement in the early 20th century. A time when music competitions started to become institutionalized. Events like the big Chopin competition in Warsaw, founded in 1927, or the Queen Elizabeth competition, founded in 1937, or later the Tchaikovsky competition, founded in 1958, emerged with big goals: discovering new talents, promote national prestige, and also define artistic excellence. At first, it all seemed noble, a stage to launch brilliant young careers. But is this still the case today? By the mid-20th century, music competitions had evolved into global cultural events. No longer just national showcases, they became launchpads for international careers. And the public watched closely. What set these competitions apart was not just the prize money and the prestige, it was the idea of discovery. The next Rubinstein or the next Horowitz. That myth lived in every jury decision, in every final round. Winning one of these competitions meant instant credibility. You get signed up with big labels, tour the world, or play with big orchestras. And the public loved it. Competitions became cultural rituals. Moments where greatness was revealed to the world. The drama, the nerves, the standing ovations, it was irresistible. But what happens when so many careers start with the same story? Does the system still reflect musical individuality, or has it become a formula? I took part in a couple of competitions growing up, national and international. And actually, I was kind of good at it. What I liked about it was that it really motivated me. It pushed me to practice harder, to listen more critically, and also to discover what others were doing in my age. I remember following the Chopin competition when I was a child and thinking, wow, this is the top of the top and I want to be there someday. And in that sense, music competitions really helped me to grow. I won most of the competitions that I took part in. And as I already said, it really pushed me to become better. But at some point, something just didn't feel right anymore. One thing that really bothered me was how predictable some of the outcomes of these competitions became. You could sometimes just look at the teachers of the participants and then check the list of the jury. And then you often would have a good idea of who's going to be in the finals. Now, please don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to take away anyone's success. There are so many brilliant winners. But the networking, the politics, the personal relationships that happen all behind the scenes, they started to get really bitter aftertaste. So even if I won, I was not sure if it was because of my playing or because of some politics behind the scenes. And then there were the jury comments. Not always about my playing, but even sometimes about my age or my gender. Like, you're still young, you'll have other chances. Or, you're a woman, you can marry rich, and the men need this more. I mean, really? Really? That's the feedback that you want to give young musicians after months and years of hard preparation? So it made me question, what are we actually being judged on? And how do these comments reflect the values of the classical music world? I would say I'm someone who can take criticism. I want to grow and I want to improve. And that only works if you get feedback and if you're ready to work with that feedback. But if the feedback is something like that, you can't really help but wonder what's going on behind closed doors. So at this point, I want to ask you, have you ever experienced something similar in a competition? What were your weirdest or also your best experiences with competitions? Let me know in the comments. I would love to read about your personal stories, the absurd ones, the painful ones, the funny ones. Let's share them all here. Because maybe it's time to rethink how we define excellence. So let's talk about the big question. Do music competitions actually work? Do they create long-term careers? Sure, some of them become huge stars like Martha Argerich, Christian Zimmermann. Their names are known, their recordings sell, and the concerts are sold out. But let's be honest, these are exceptions, not the rule. For every single globally known competition winner, there are dozens whose names disappear just a few years later. So let me just give you a quick example. Since 1927, there were 18 first prize winners of the Chopin competition in Warsaw. How many of these do you still know today? And don't get me wrong, all these pianists are incredibly talented. But winning a competition is not a gold ticket, because what really matters is what comes after the competition. How you market yourself, who you know, how well you network, whether you have the stamina or the right vision, and let's be honest, sometimes just the right agent or the right social media presence. I sometimes feel like there's this almost cult-like belief in our scene that you must win a competition to be validated as an artist, or that this is the only way to prove your worth. But this mindset is toxic, because if you don't win, it makes you feel like you failed. And it completely ignores the complex reality of what it means to build a real sustainable artistic career. Let's be honest, many artists who have never won a major prize have thriving international careers. And the other way around, many prize winners have never made it past a few short seasons. So, before you build into that idea that competitions are the only path to success, ask yourself, what kind of artist do you want to be, and who do you want to become once the spotlight fades? So where do we go from here? If competitions are not the answer, or at least not the only one, what is? I think there is a reason why in the 19th century, the Romantic era, there were so many brilliant musicians, legendary pianists and composers. We had Chopin, Liszt, Robert Schumann, Clara Schumann, Mendelssohn, Brahms, and many, many more. And surprise, none of them had international competitions. They didn't play in front of a jury, they played for the public. They inspired one another, and they challenged each other through art, not through medals. This kind of healthy, organic competition that's already there in nature, where everyone wants to grow because they are surrounded by greatness, this is the kind of competition that I would love to see more of. Because let's be honest, the most important jury that we'll ever play for is the audience. The people who sit in the hall, the people who hopefully feel something when we play for them. So here is a question to all of you. What if we reimagined how we discover and support talents? Without rigid scoring systems, without a fixed format, and also without strange politics. What would a world look like where musicians are encouraged to take risks in their art? Not to win any medals, but to move people. Where they grow not in isolation, but in community. Let's start this brainstorm together. Share your craziest, boldest, most stupid ideas in the comments. Because maybe the future of music isn't something that we compete for. Maybe it's something that we build together. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. I'm excited to have a look into the comments now and read through all your stories. Don't forget to check out my upcoming concert in Milan in Italy, and we'll see us in the next video. Bye.